I just want to check, Dee, you are actually wearing a skirt at the moment, aren't you, darling?
Actually,
well, she doesn't wear
Right.
much, Richard.
Hi.
Well, howdy.
1980s, here we are.
Here we are, y'all.
Wow.
You look amazing, girls.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
try.
Harriet, what do you say first?
Well,
Harriet, what are you
I
going to say? What are you
say,
going to say
well,
about?
I know. Are we all suddenly in the South? What's going on here?
I don't know,
Honestly.
but we have to do that because we're in
I
Dallas.
know, but
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. Also, I'm Joan Collins, so I don't know
Oh.
that I would, darling. Anyway, you have to you have to like and subscribe to us on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know why, I don't know how Madonna spoke, but anyway, what you have to do is like and follow us on Facebook, I
You
think.
got there.
Oh, yeah. And
Can I just say, ladies, you look fabulous. I can't go.
thank you.
Go on, Dee.
Go on, Dee.
Carry on, Dee.
And please, will you follow us on Twitter? And please, will you just tweet? Thank you.
Yes, but the most important thing, of course, is that you follow us on Instagram, because Instagram is the most important thing, because I'm saying it. So
Yeah.
do follow us on Instagram. Cheers.
Cheers. Who are you, dear? Is it Margaret Thatcher? Who are
That's for me to know and you not to find out.
you? Oh, I see.
Richard, you know
Richard, who are
something.
you?
Well,
I know who he is.
Last week, sorry, ladies, I did throw down the gauntlet and I said to you, let's do an 80s theme because obviously our hair is getting closer to God. We're in a complete lack of frenzy in lockdown now because none of us can be tonsorily titificated. So in the absence of getting our weaves done, I thought, well, let's just throw it out there and let's go full on 80s. And the 80s for me was all about Dallas. In fact, ladies, I have a little gusher right here. So
What's that,
this
mate?
says Ewing oil.
Oh!
This was one of the centerpieces at my 50th birthday last
Oh
year.
my
when
God.
I hosted an oil baron's ball
Oh my God.
Wow!
for some friends because ever since I was a nipper, I was obsessed by it. So my family moved up to rural Aberdeenshire in the early 1980s, which was oil rich at the time. My father was a helicopter engineer. So the big bucks weren't exactly rolling in, but we knew how to throw a party. So I used to get the free tumblers that you would get from the local petrol station. And you'd get 6 if you bought enough petrol. And I would mix myself a Pepsi and pretend that it was Bourbon and Branch, which was JR's tipple.
Oh!
I didn't stop there. I also put shoulder pads in my dressing gown. And it was at that point my parents knew that I wouldn't kick a ball around. And that's when Sophie Dick was born, my obsession with all the 1980s sudsters. I'm actually wearing a Stetson that I picked up in Graham County in Texas. I go to Texas every year.
You do?
Because
Do you?
because yes, I do, ladies, because
Oh, how fantastic.
That is amazing.
You really are a Dallas fan, Richard, aren't you?
I honestly, I really, really am. And
Oh, but Richard, sorry
Well,
to interrupt you, but you're also a Eurovision fan, aren't you? Because the 80s were when Bucks Fizz won Eurovision. And I've got a surprise for you that the girls don't know about. No one knows about it.
Oh,
Are
I'm
you
excited.
there? Mr. Mons Zemelov, are you there to say hello to Richard, the winner of 2015 Eurovision? My son-in-law.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back, Mums.
You're sideways.
Wait, do you want me that way?
Oh, there you go.
There we
You're
go.
the right way up now.
Richard, it's my present to you and the girls. It's Mons.
oh my
Wow.
goodness me! Well, this requires a quick change of Stetsons.
There we go.
Bye.
Always on brand, ladies. And it's just as well because that Stetson is not a summer Stetson. This is a bit more lightweight. I was sweating like I was watching Brokeback Mountain, to be quite honest. So I can repeat this one.
So Mons, what's going to happen at Eurovision?
For
Because
the Eurovision.
Yeah, it's been quite a strange week for us Eurovision fans, actually. But we're doing our best to. We had a Eurovision party here, well, just the family, on Tuesday and last night, and just looking through the songs and the music videos and putting points, scoring them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, is it actually still a competition then? Not people just singing for no reason whatsoever?
No, there is no competition now. So the show that you are broadcasting is just, it's not competitive at all. They're just showing the 41 songs, and I'll be doing Heroes tonight as well.
You will be?
Yes.
Where?
On Europe Shine a Light on BBC.
Oh, wow.
Wow, how exciting.
Wow. Richard,
From
have you
my
met
porch.
Mons before? Richard, have you met Mons before?
No, I don't believe we have. I've covered Eurovision, or at least for the last 4 or 5 years for Good Morning Britain, and it is a wonderful unifying event, whether you're putting on a spread in your shed or at home with a family, whether you're on your own, whatever. It's such a massive event. The figures are still huge here in the UK, and obviously it's a massive event across Europe and even Australia now. So when you go there, it is wonderful because, as I said on Good Morning Britain this week, it's full of men who've left their wives at home, like any main sporting event. And there's a tremendous atmosphere. And I miss it. I do miss it this year because it's always such an incredible trip, and seeing all the fans, and they are so incredibly dedicated. But when I talk about it on the TV, because I love Eurovision, but I'm by no means a Eurovision expert. And if you mention Eurovision and you get a fact wrong, it's like you're going to be chased down by fans of Doctor Who. You know how the Whovians are when it comes to their show. They will take me down on Twitter and every other social platform and flagellate me. But I just adore the feeling of it, which is why I'm going to recreate it tonight at home. And as you said, they're celebrating all the songs this year, and it's all being done and hosted in Holland from a socially distant perspective.
Can I ask, if we're talking about 1980s, who was the Eurovision people then? Who were they?
Bucks Fizz.
Is it Bucks Fizz? And that was 1980s, was it?
And ABBA.
Making your mind
as well?
ABBA was 74, wasn't it?
74, was it?
Yeah. 81 was Bucks Fizz.
Right.
Was it?
Yeah.
But it does feel like even in Britain, Eurovision has gotten more exposure this year than any other year because it's
really.
It feels like everyone is talking about Eurovision and has been this week, and I haven't experienced that in Britain before.
Because I suppose we're having such a miserable time. It's something to look forward to and have a laugh and celebrate, you know.
Yeah, probably.
And also because England never wins. Britain never wins, does it?
We used to in the old days.
In the old days, but it
Not
never
anymore.
does now. So, Mons, we get a bit depressed over here because we go, oh, we're not going to win again, are we?
Maybe it's because there's no competition now. Then we can all celebrate because no one's going to win. So we can pretend we did.
Yes, so that's
true.
Fabulous.
But Britain was actually sending quite a good song this year that I think could have made the top 10.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, James Newman. In fact, they've been doing lots of stats on various music platforms and trying to work out who might have won this year. And apparently it would have been a tie between Italy and Iceland. Their video went viral earlier in the year. I'm sure many of you saw that. Yeah. And we may have polled, as Man said, around 10th place. Of course, these algorithms don't take into account politics, which is probably why we have polled quite highly in this virtual Eurovision.
Yeah, but I think Corona actually eliminates politics a bit. So it would have been a perfect year for Britain this year.
Great point.
What a shame. Typical, isn't it?
But the great news is we have Dee, who is the spit of Cheryl Baker from 1981.
That's true.
I should have one of those little skirts that you whisk off.
Yeah, you should pull it off. Yeah.
She does that every show. Are you kidding me?
I do.
Yes, she does.
The only one
I think Mons is very, very busy, so we're going to have to let him fly out of our nest. But
okay,
Mons,
thanks for coming
to see us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. That was such a lovely surprise.
Lovely, yeah.
Thank you.
It was for Richard, to be honest with you.
Thank you so much.
Seeing you yesterday.
Dankjewel, as they say in Holland. I used to live in Amsterdam in the early 1990s.
Did you?
We'll save that for Wonderbirds Unleashed. That's a little late.
The nighttime show.
Yes, when we move forward. I just want to check, Dee, you are actually wearing a skirt at the moment, aren't you, darling?
Actually,
well, she doesn't wear much, Richard.
Normally don't. I normally don't, but today it's an 80s all in one. Do you want to see?
Yes, please.
Fabulous.
Fabulous.
Oh, I say.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
So Harriet, you're looking very, very glam. So you're obviously Joan Collins.
Full Joan.
Full Joan.
Full Joan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the lips. Can
With
you
a
just
little
come, can you come closer? Oh,
With a
wow.
little bit of
Very
gloss.
nice.
And I did purple eyes. I looked at some photos and tried to remember what I used to do in my youth.
But doesn't it, ladies, doesn't it just feel fabulous to frock up? Doesn't
Oh
it?
God, yes.
No.
I love the gloves. Do you remember the gloves?
Yes.
Yes, I love that. That is
Later on, I'm going to show you what my shoulder pads are, but you'll have to wait.
Oh no, I can't imagine.
No, I think I can. I think they.
It's not a tenor, lady.
I can imagine exactly what it is.
Well, no, it's a mystery.
I'm not going to say on air.
No, best not.
No, big and bulky, hey?
Yeah, big and bulky. Say no more.
But Dee, where did you get that wig?
Oh, well, darling, I have quite a few wigs, you know, because I like sort of doing dress-ups sometimes.
Well, we're not talking about your private life here. We're just,
Again,
that's when you're a nurse, isn't it? I understand.
Well, actually, I'm very Farah, darling, very Farah. Because Farah actually made it in the 70s, but, you know, in the 80s, she came into her own. And she met Ryan O'Neill. And she had a really, she almost got a Golden Globe because she did a movie called The Burning Bed. And it dealt with women's issues, really, really strong women's issues. So Farah, I thought, was a really good role model for her.
I love it.
In the 80s.
That's so funny. Just so silly.
I think she looks like Goldilocks as well, like a Disney Goldilocks. She looks lovely.
Or Heidi that's been out and had a few too many. Come back from the hills.
Yeah.
So then you know what she's been doing up there in the hills.
I mean, to look like this, I'm very impressed with us all to be like this at 10 o'clock in the morning, to be honest with you.
We've been up since 4.
That's why. Oh.
And Richard,
I've been back home since 4.
I love you in that hat. I think you should always wear a hat like that. That is just your style, you know.
Well, do you know? And I do when I go to Texas. I do pack my Stetsons. I've got a couple. Ted's wearing one over here, the lightweight someone. So I do. I was lucky enough to go to Fort Worth. I haven't been there for years because I normally just go to Dallas and around there. So I went into Fort Worth and to the cattle markets last October.
Oh, wow.
They have all the shops there that you can buy. And it's expensive, you know, the paraphernalia, like the proper belt buckles and all the gear. But shopping for a Stetson is quite something. And I do pack it when I go, which raises a few eyebrows when I board the aircraft. Those are the days, ladies. I feel right. I sort of feel at home in them, and I don't know where that comes from. Whether it's this natural affinity with Texas that I sort of
Richard, have you met Larry Hagman? Did you meet him when you?
I did. Thank you.
Oh, no.
I've met Larry, Charlene, Linda, and Patrick. I met a couple of years ago for the 40th anniversary, and it's the first time I'd ever met any members of the Dallas cast. It's Southport, and I said to Patrick Duffy, what do you think Larry Hagman would make of this? All these fans still gathering at Southport, you know, for the 40th anniversary of the show. And Patrick said to me, he'd charge him, which sounds like good old JR. But I did host the Dallas reboot party when the show came back a few years ago for a few seasons, and Larry was there, and he died shortly afterwards, a couple of months afterwards. Now, he never ever signs anything. I don't know if you remember, ladies, he used to always give out $100 bills with his signature printed on them, and I think he made a great show of it when he was at the Royal Variety Performance one year when he fluffed his lines in front of the Queen Mother. And he signed a Stetson for me, and it is my most treasured possession.
Oh, lovely.
So much
what was your favourite
character,
character, darling? Who was your favourite character?
Please, Swellen. And Linda Gray, right, okay, I'll tell you a story, ladies. So Linda and I have met many times over the years. I think I first interviewed her in the late 90s for radio. And And when she was in Hollyoaks, of course, a couple of years ago as well, when she was over here. So our
Oh,
paths
yes.
crossed many times. So Ellen was always my favorite character. So, and Linda is wonderful. She's incredibly warm. I cannot believe she's all of 79. She'll be 80 years old this year.
Wow.
Looks incredible. Anyway, I was in Dallas on the same trip that I went to Fort Worth last October, and I emailed her and then emailed her publicist just to say it would be good if I could just set up a chat because I was doing a whole Texas themed piece for a magazine. And her publicist got back to me and said, well, Linda's in Dallas. And she said, she'll meet you tonight. So I met Linda in Dallas and we had a drink. So finally, after all these years, I got to drink with Sue Ellen.
Oh my goodness.
So amazing.
It was in this hotel. It was in this hotel, which I always stay in because the Dallas cast used to stay there. And she tells this fantastic story. When she first went to Texas in the late 70s to film the show, she tells this lovely story of her and Larry Hagman and the cast in a motel. And Larry had filled the tub full of bottles of champagne. Typical Larry gesture. She said when she was in the hotel, she was trying to get a feeling of what these women of Texas were like. So she went to nail salons and hairdressers and tried to listen to the conversation. And she went to the powder room in this hotel. And she looked down and this woman opened up her little clutch bag and she had a gun in it. And Linda, a California girl, said, is that a gun? And the woman said, sure, honey, this is Texas. And that's when she got the character of Sue Ellen.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
What a great story.
Did Linda and Larry get on, Richard?
Yes, very much so. They're the best.
Because there's lots of stories about all that.
No, look, they were the best of buddies. Larry and her devoted to each other, as indeed she was to his late wife. And the big three, there's actually, you probably can't see it, but there's a picture of the big three, as they call themselves, behind me. So Patrick, Linda, and Larry were very much family. I mean, I actually got quite emotional when I met them at South. And Patrick said to me, we get that a lot because back then, of course, ladies, you'll know there were very few VCRs around in the late 70s and early 80s. And so people gathered around as a family to watch the show, rather like live television is today, event television. And I was really quite choked up because, this was like I say, my World Cup, I suppose. This was,
what was the ranch actually in the end used for? It's not a home, is it?
No, it's actually, you can still tour it. It's like a conference center.
Like a museum.
Hire it. Yeah. And so it's dedicated to the show and they still have visitors every year. And in fact, there we go.
Oh,
my goodness.
You've got everything.
Everything. But I remember also who shot JR. The whole world wanted to know. It was the most pivotal storyline.
Yes. I went on forever.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
And it was Bing Crosby's daughter, wasn't it?
That's right. It was indeed Mary Crosby.
Yeah.
Mary Crosby.
What's ever happened to her, Richard?
She's still around. In fact, I saw her on the one show I think just before Christmas. I mean, she was a little bit younger than the rest of the cast when she was gun toting and trying to put a couple of slugs into J.R. Ewing. But she's still looking as fragrant as ever, and she's taken a part in a lot of the Dallas reunions that have happened over the years. It's very weird. I mean, we were talking about Eurovision, and thank you once again, Debbie, for that fantastic surprise. Going to an event when you're just surrounded by Dallas fans, as you can imagine, is actually quite niche. And there are quite a few of them from Germany where the show was so popular, it was dubbed the Street Sweeper, whatever the German is for that. And just being around all these Dallas fans 40 years later, because I was about 8-9 years old when the show started, probably shouldn't have been watching it, was unbelievable. It felt like there was a place for me.
I loved that show.
But there is something I do need to say. Doesn't everybody have a gun in their handbag?
I have a chocolate one. Is that any good?
Yes, it's the only one to have, darling.
Yes, I do lick it a lot.
Yeah.
The laws are very different in Texas. Very different.
Harriet,
yes, of course they are.
Harriet, are you going to show us what's in what are your shoulder pads?
I'm going to give you a little reveal. Bear with. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. I'm dying to see. I can just imagine what she's got up there.
No,
I have to say, I'm very impressed with their topiary, ladies. I've never had the pleasure, but it's blooming.
Blooming.
Where are you?
I'm here because I also wanted to do a salute to Jane Fonda and the workouts. So I've got my workout band on, and I'm going to, as a grapevine, There you are.
Yes, that's enough.
Okay, I'm now going to reveal. Let's take this madness off. Hang on.
Good.
Okay, there we
I
go.
love it.
Okay, bear with.
A sock.
A sock.
Oh,
Oh, I thought it was something completely different.
What did you
With a
say it
motor.
would be,
Did you
Sherrie?
think it was a motor, darling? Something.
No, I thought it was a sanitary towel, but I won't say it on air.
Darling, I'm too old to have a sanitary towel, dear.
Well, I know you are, but we've all got them in case.
No.
Yeah, I think there's a
Oh,
reason
dear.
for that, ladies. We all need to be very optimistic in lockdown, and I think you're doing a marvellous job for it.
A marvellous job.
thanks. And you too.
A marvellous job.
So, honestly, now we need to be challenged to something else, Richard. What can we be challenged for next?
Yeah, come on, Richard.
Did we
Next
win
week's
this
theme.
challenge?
Next week's theme.
Next week's theme. Oh my goodness me, ladies! Next week's theme. He says, sort of struggling, looking around the shed to think, how can I make this really
Yes,
easy for
come on.
myself?
Something to
I-
inspire you.
So I've torn through my Okay.
Oh,
no.
Now you'll get, ladies, you're going to regret this.
Oh, no.
I played a character once in a film, and I had one line, and it was, "Oh, what's going on here then?" And that character
uh-oh.
was Nosy Smurf. So,
Oh.
ladies,
Oh,
You've got to be a
Smurfy.
Smurf.
yes, come as your favourite Smurf.
Or maybe could we say different characters from that kind of animated era?
Yes, let's do. Yeah, okay, let's do our favourite cartoon character.
Otherwise,
Oh,
we'll
my
all be
goodness me.
blue, and that'll be boring, won't it?
So what's the era? What's the decade?
I think you can be a
Well-
cartoon from any decade.
It doesn't matter
Okay.
as long as you're a cartoon.
Cartoon.
Fabulous.
Animated.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'll be fun. That'll be
Oh
fun,
my
and then we
God,
can get the viewers to send in themselves as cartoon characters. But I already have an idea about a cartoon character.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yes, cartoon character.
why do I
Roger
think
Rabbit, am I thinking?
every time yeah, actually, Harriet, you could be right, because I was about to go there as well. I think every time we set a theme, Debbie's going through a Rolodex in her head of role plays over the years. I think
Am I that obvious, guys? I'm really sorry about that.
no, not at all, darling. You all look magnificent. Right, well, I better raise my game if I'm going to find some blue paint in lots.
Yes,
good luck with that.
exactly.
Yeah, but also,
Exactly.
Richard, I'm so glad that I managed to surprise you and the girls. I didn't tell them about it, but I thought, as I have a son-in-law who is a Eurovision star, it was a bit of a waste not to bring him in today. don't you think?
It's a
Absolutely.
no-brainer, and it's brilliant.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And let's wave a flag for tonight, because we've got to keep the old Eurovision.
Yeah,
number.
exactly. I didn't realise it was tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is tonight. So,
I'm
happy
waving
Eurovision,
mine.
everybody.
And the 80s song is Girls Who Want to Have Fun. Girls
Yes.
Who Want to Have
Wanna
Fun.
have fun.
And I've made my
Yes,
mind up.
lovely.
I've made my mind up. Richard, thank you for coming. Well, thank you for another fantastic, hilarious show.
Yes.
Saturday
And
morning
a
fun.
hilarious challenge.
Thank you for welcoming me all the way to the bottom of my garden, where most of the fairies are.
And we
Not
will
on
see you
Monday,
next
Debbie.
week as a cartoon character.
I'm terrified about this.
Oh,
I know, you see, we all are now, but whatever. Debbie, who have we got on Monday?
on Monday, we have Boris Johnson and President Trump.
Oh, no.
Of course we do.
We have John Coltrane,
Yay!
the best
Fantastic.
impressionist in the world, and our very great friend, a Wonderbird friend. I'm sure he's a friend of yours as well, Richard. I wanted to just say Boris and Donald, because he probably will be all of those, don't you imagine?
Hope so.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
What a talent.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I feel as
brilliant.
though I should be out in the streets earning some money. The only thing is, at my age, I'd have to pay them.
No, darling, don't be
Artist.
ridiculous.
Not at all. Oh, Sherrie, it's not the work, my love. It's the stairs at our age.
True.
It's true. It's lifting anything up and putting it anywhere, Richard.
Steady. Too much information, darling. Far
It's
too
too
much
much
information.
for the first thing on a Saturday morning.
I
Happy
know.
Eurovision, everybody. We will see you on Monday.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.